Hi, everyone. My name is Ella Sopanitsky. I'm the Director of Exam Operations and Grading for IMA. I'm also a CMA and a CPA. And today I have a great privilege to interview Jermaine Chubb, the CFO of Houston Airport Systems. Thank you so much for joining us, Jermaine. I'm sure our followers will be inspired by your journey to the CMA and how it has made a difference in your life and in your career.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. Totally appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. So, Jermaine, can you tell us a little bit about your background and your current role?
Yes, I'm currently the Chief Financial Officer for Houston Airport System, where I'm responsible for corporate strategy and performance management, financial planning and analysis, and all of the accounting functions, financial reporting, general accounting, fixed asset accounting, accounts payable and accounts receivable, also internal audit and supply chain management. Prior to this time, I spent some time in the oil and gas industry. I've held roles as a business unit CFO in the oil and gas industry for a very large company in the upstream field, and then as a financial planning and analysis manager. Spent some time as a senior financial analyst prior to that as well. Just prior to that, I worked with Toyota as a financial reporting specialist as well. And prior to that, I worked 12 years or so between the state of Michigan and the state of Georgia in various accounting roles. And so quite a bit of experience in the public and private sector and across many industries as well. So that's a bit on my background.
Mm-hmm. Wow, you have a very impressive background and very busy role. Do you have any time? Do you have any time? How are you able to maintain a healthy work-life balance? Do you have any time to pursue things outside of work?
Yeah, I have a little boy. You say pursue. I have a little boy now. He's about 16 months old, and he pursues me around the house all the time. And so, having a little one like that, you have to find time for family. And so, it's great to have him. If I'm at home working, we were in this pandemic and we were working from home sometimes, and he certainly comes in the office and he wants to get on the keyboard and everything. But besides that, certainly I play quite a bit of chess. I really like traveling, which the pandemic kind of curtailed a little bit there. And I've been working on my golf game. That is certainly a work in progress, but I need to find a little more time to get out there to improve in terms of that. But work-life balance is certainly very important when you have these roles that are demanding, such as mine.
That's awesome. And your son is such a cute age. I remember it was just yesterday when my kids were this little. Now I have two teenagers, one in college, one at home. So Jermaine, enjoy.
I've heard that. Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about CMA certification. When did you earn it and why?
Yes, and so I passed the first part of the CMA exam in 2012 from my recollection, but I finalized it in 2014. And the reason that I finalized the CMA exam is I was working as a business unit CFO at the time, and I was in charge of really helping this organization understand its profitability, actually going and training managers across the globe on profitability within their region, right? And so I'm producing reports for them that would help them understand profitability in terms of their individual business products and the like. And so not only charged with profitability, I was charged, of course, with risk management, reviewing our tenders and making sure that we were considering risk associated with them, and many other things, like we were considering divesting in a certain product. And, if you're going to step into an organization and make these type of recommendations and or decisions, if the boss accepts it, you're making the decision, then you really need to be fortified. And so this was time for me to go in and step in and take that CMA exam, looking at the topics covered. I wanted to make sure that I really knew my stuff. And so I think passing that CMA exam helped me to do just that.
I see. That's great. And what was your employer's reaction after you earned your CMA?
The employer was certainly satisfied with me earning the CMA. And I would say that I understand that satisfaction more so from the accomplishments that I was able to achieve in that role, right? One thing that I did for that organization was save them $10 million annually on a royalty agreement And so this was $1 billion revenue organization, and $10 million going directly to the bottom line is pretty significant. And so the employer was certainly appreciative of that. So I would like to say that they liked the results that came from the knowledge that I gained from studying for and passing the CMA exam.
Absolutely. And $10 million in savings. Wow.
Yeah, pretty big for anyone.
That's impressive. Jermaine, may I ask you, did your employer cover the cost of your CMA?
Yes, that employer did cover the cost of the CMA. And here working, I'm in government now. Our airport system is owned by the city of Houston. We cover the cost of the CMA as well. We talked previously about the possibility of having an employee actually pass the exam before we would pay for it. But right now, we actually just pay for the exam in advance, but we certainly pay for it.
That's great. That's great to hear. And I'm so glad to hear this. And I hope many more employers will follow your company's suit, because clearly they're realizing a huge return on investment.
Absolutely. And, my experience has shown just that. And I'll tell you that if anybody in my group wants to take the CMA exam, maybe they're on here. If they're not, I may mention it to them in the next meeting that, please sign up, because it's certainly a benefit.
That's great. That's great. And Jermaine, you have a wealth of certifications. You have a CMA, a CPA, CFA, and others, and you have your MBA degree. Can you tell us a little bit about how does your CMA complement your CPA or your MBA degree?
Yeah, that's interesting. And you know what, after I passed the CPA exam, which, I was really heavy into accounting at that time, I started to look at the CMA exam with a buddy of mine. And just looking at the topics that are covered in the CMA exam versus the CPA exam. CPA covers financial accounting and reporting, auditing and attestation, business environment and concepts and regulations. Whereas in the CMA exam, you're covering everything from performance management, budgeting, forecasting and analysis, decision analysis, technology and analytics. And so, you start looking at everything that's covered in both of the exams, and you find out that they are very complementary. And so I like to say that the CPA exam more so focuses on accounting and the external environment in terms of statutory reporting. And the CMA more so covers the internal environment and things like strategy and making decisions around investments and risk management and analysis. And so I think coupling those two together really makes for a very good finance business partner. And so it helps you to step into roles as I have and be a business partner to the chief executive of the organization and make recommendations that's going to have a $10 million annual impact or hundreds of millions of dollar impact. Again, I needed this to be able to go into an organization like Halliburton and tell them whether they should continue producing a product or the best of the product. So it's certainly been a benefit for me.
And I can certainly relate to that as well. I started my career as a CPA, but very quickly when I moved in to work inside the organization, I felt I was missing some important skills, and CMA really helped me.
Yes,
yeah,
certainly. So you had the same experience I did.
Yes.
Right.
And which one did you get first?
You said, so I got the CPA first. It was 2010 or so when I first passed that CPA exam. And so at the time I was working with Schlumberger, it was really when I stepped into that role at Halliburton, I knew that, I was really going to be dependent upon for making these huge business decisions, whereas more so in the past, even in my FP&A role, I did a lot of analysis and really helping understand trends and things like that. But, I was not making decisions to the magnitude I was making them in this role with Halliburton. And so I really needed to finalize that exam. And it certainly did fortify me. So I made that decision to finalize it in 2004.
That's great. That's great. And what do you appreciate the most about your CMA certification?
Well, I think just one of the things would have to be just what we just talked about, really rounding out my knowledge in finance and accounting overall. I would say when I was in the university, everybody talks about the CPA exam and how great it is actually to pass that exam. And it's a tough exam, and we're certainly happy, but really working in industry and figuring out that I wanted to do a little more, right? I wanted to get on the path to becoming a CFO, and I wanted to help an organization improve its bottom line. And once I started thinking that in that manner, I said, okay, I need to take the CMA exam. Did just that. And I think having done that, it's opened up the doors for me to opportunities such as the one that I'm in now, that I think that I may have not had that exact opportunity in the past. I mean, it's really exciting work when you're working for an organization like the Houston Airport System or Halliburton, and you're helping the chief executive make a decision around should they continue producing the product, especially when that product wasn't particularly supported, and your analysis helps them to understand we do make money on this product. And if we actually try to divest of all the challenges that we would incur if we did that, and we would add more cost to existing products. And so, when you can step into an organization and make those type of decisions, I think that's pretty exciting work there.
Mm-hmm. That's great, because that brought me to a question I was going to ask you. How did CMA make a difference in your life and in your career, in your organization, even the community?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, again, I would say more so in the Houston Airport System, we're a huge economic engine for the city of Houston and surrounding areas. And so you'll see, I think some of this is made public now. If you look at our Houston Spaceport, we have some new developments there that are producing projects that are going to add jobs to the region. And so it's said that for every new job that the airport produces, there are about 5 that are produced in the greater community, right? And so being here and maintaining this airport as a sustainable, profitable airport that can continue to grow, I actually play a part in that. I actually play a part in helping our community grow in terms of the economics. And so, this is something that anybody should be proud of that gets to participate in something like that. But the job is a little more grand than just the spreadsheets and the paperwork that we do. There's an impact on the community. And so recognizing that, helps you feel a little better about staying up a little later at night or coming in a little earlier and things like that. It's nice what I get
Absolutely.
to do. Mm-hmm.
And it makes a big difference. It makes a big difference when you have that satisfaction that you can impact not only your organization, but the community. And if you think about your CMA, like if you think about your career highlight or an achievement that you're most proud of as a CMA, what would that be?
Yeah, and so, one of them certainly would be, and just given the timing, I mean, we're talking about 7 years ago now when I just completed the CMA, and I was able to step in for one. And I'll mention 2 things. One is to, and I remember the day that the senior vice president of Halliburton asked me to take a look at this certain product and see if we should continue producing it, right? And he wanted the break-even analysis done and everything. And so, this is a little different from getting that question on an exam, right? Because now in real world consequences, what I say will matter here. And if I tell them the wrong thing, this could be, real damage for our organization. And so I was able to actually work with my management team in the organization and to produce that break-even analysis, determine that this product was indeed profitable. And, we really worked within the organization and determined that, hey, we should stand behind this product. And so we did just that. And so that brought satisfaction to me. I think I came to the right conclusion, and it helped our organization understand that, hey, we're not in such bad shape as it relates to this product. I was really satisfied with that. Again, and I mentioned earlier the $10 million savings on a royalty agreement because of the impact to the bottom line for that organization. I think that has to be one that I'm really proud of. And doing my review of the royalty agreement, I was able to do some due diligence that said that certain costs could be removed if that cost was incurred to bring that product to market. Well, I went and looked at all of the costs associated with bringing the product to market and found that there were some things that were missing in terms of our deduction. And so having captured those deductions, I actually had some discussion with internal and external counsel, of course, presented to our senior management team, and we rolled forward with it. And so ended up saving $10 million a year. And so that's a huge accomplishment as well. So certainly proud of those 2 things. And I've done some things since then as well. millions of dollars for organizations, but we can't talk about them all right now, but made an impact in my career.
And so impressive. And, you know, I'm so glad you brought this up, Jermaine, because clearly taking exam is one thing and applying your knowledge in the real world is very, very different. And I hear sometimes from candidates, they say, why do you make exams so difficult? Why it has to be so challenging? And my answer to them is, so when you are working in the real world, you will be so happy that you have all these tools to apply in your real job.
That is a great point. You know, I didn't really think about that, but you're right. If the exam was not so difficult, maybe I wouldn't have been able to make that recommendation. So great point there.
So speaking of candidates who are currently studying for the CMA exam, do you have any study tips or strategies for them?
Yes, you know, one thing I would say, and we were just talking about it, consider the exam difficult, right? When you know that going in, then you're going to make sure that you set up a really good study plan, create your own syllabus. This is what I've always done. You know, I map it out. I understand when I'm going to take the exam. I create a syllabus to determine which topics I'm going to study which week, and I'm going to have my self-test for each of the topics every single, whether that's weekly or bi-weekly. And I allow enough time to identify my problem areas before I take the exam. So doing this really allows me for that last 2 weeks or month or week or whatever it is, right? If you're a person that really likes to crunch things, maybe it's the last 2 days, but you know that you have some study time to really work on your problem areas and you can close that gap. And so it's worked for me, I would say, for the CPA exam, CMA exam, the CSCA exam. I passed them all on the first try, and I think that I would not have been able to do that without just having this methodology.
That's awesome, and that's very good advice, you know. And Jeremy, as far as finance and accounting graduates who are looking for this first, you know, the entry-level job, do you have any advice to them?
Yeah, you know, one thing is, and I know that as a student, you can actually begin taking certain exams. And so I would say, pursue the CMA exam as an opportunity to get into the finance and accounting arena. But also, if you have an opportunity to take a finance and accounting job or internship, to do just that, you know, to begin showing employers that you have experience in that area. But really having the CMA exam behind you, being able to demonstrate that you've passed even a part of it is something that employers will take into consideration. I know I personally would, even in more advanced positions where I wouldn't hire someone, it's not an entry-level position, but even at that advanced level, a person having passed even a part of it, it demonstrates to me that you have a certain set of knowledge that I'm looking for in a certain position. And so I think that would be my advice.
That's great. That's great. And speaking of skills and knowledge, you know, in your role, from your background, what are the skills in demand today, you know, for the finance and accounting professionals, and how does CMA certification can play a role in learning and using these skills?
Yeah, and so employers are looking for somebody that can tell the story behind the numbers. They want somebody who can take large sets of data and really predict the future, basically using data analytics. They want somebody that can help them look at all their risk in the organization and determine what should we do about this risk, right? And also, of course, every employer is looking at profitability. Even if you're in a not-for-profit, you need to look at sustainability, and it's still related, right? We need to be efficient in what we do, right? And so if you look at the topics that are covered in the CMA exam, look at things like decision analysis, performance management, analytics as well. You know, the CMA exam, and I have to commend IMA for this as well. It seems like you guys are really staying in tune with what the industry and current trends are in terms of topics that are needed. And so you're asking me here now, I think you have all the answers, but I think you all have covered it very well. You know, if you pass this exam, I think you're well prepared to help any organization really across the globe in terms of the primary functions that are being sought from finance professionals.
This is very helpful, and I just wanted to add to what Jermaine said, that we do make sure that our exam is most relevant. We have added data analytics to our exam, and we've been testing it for a couple of years now, and candidates are doing really good in this area.
Yes,
So
and I noticed that
accountants
recently.
can do
That wasn't a part of the exam when I took it, and so I had to take a class with Wharton recently to cover that for myself. So yeah, I did notice that. So good staying on top of it.
Thank you, Jermaine. And last but not least, and very important question, like for someone who is on the fence about pursuing CMA, why should they earn it?
Well, if you're on the fence, I would have to say, make the jump. If you're serious about a career in finance and accounting, and you want to set yourself apart from the pack, there are many people that are applying for roles, and this is one way to set yourself apart from the pack. But not only that, if you want to step into an organization, whether it's an entry-level role, and you want to excel and you want to grow, right? You have a desire to become a financial planner, analysis manager, finance director, CFO, or something like that in the future, then go and take the exam, because you will make an impact. When I stepped into Halliburton and, I saved them this $10 million a year, as you go along in your career, you could think that, okay, that was a really big accomplishment for me. But it's really that foundational knowledge that you gain that really helps you to make these accomplishments. And so you'll go somewhere else and you'll make another accomplishment that's larger, right? And so it's that foundational knowledge that allows you to do it. It allows you to advance in your career. And so it's really seeing the end from the beginning. If you want to advance, if you want to land that next role, it's a great way to do it. That would be my advice.
Thank you, Jermaine. And thank you so much for being with us today, for taking the time of your very busy schedule. And I'm sure our followers are very inspired by your story. And we want to thank you, and we want to thank everyone of our followers, and good luck to everyone.
Thank you for the discussion. Have a good one.